Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Myth: My dragons can evolve infinitely. Chapter 1. Big Brother, Big Brother. Brother, wake up quickly. Brother, without you, our entire East China Sea would be doomed. Boil it, bake it, bake it. While staring in confusion, Ao Qing vaguely heard a series of sounds coming from his ears, as if someone was calling him. What's going on? After saying this in a daze, Ao Qing opened his eyes with some difficulty. But when he saw the scene in front of him, Ao Qing, who was originally a little confused, suddenly jumped up from the dragon bed, his eyes flashing with deep surprise. In front of him was a huge dark black stick, which penetrated deep into the seabed and straight into the sky. Beside the dark black stick, there was a giant head that was more than 100 meters tall and bound with golden chains. The long five-clawed dragon gives people a visually shocking impact. At this moment, the giant dragon, which was more than 100 meters long, had a pair of big eyes, and looked at Ao Qing with concern on its face. Seeing Ao Qing wake up, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Beside the giant dragon, some shrimp soldiers and crab generals stood quietly. The leader was a young child wearing white clothes but with a pair of blue dragon horns. Brother, you finally woke up. Seeing Ao Qing open his eyes, the child with blue dragon horns secretly breathed a sigh of relief, his face full of joy. Here it is. Am I not watching the movie, Nezha, the devil boy comes into the world? Looking at everything around him, the young man named Ao Qing frowned slightly, wondering what he was thinking. Suddenly, a stream of powerful memories crazily poured into the young man's mind and injected into his memory. For a long, long time, the young man finally came to his senses and understood. It turns out that, like the protagonists in many stories, Ao Qing has traveled through time like many time travelers. However, the world he traveled to was the ancient mythical world starting from Nezha, the devil boy comes to the world. In this world, there are the three pure ones, the Jade Emperor, the Queen Mother, Tai Zhenren. Everything. Traveling to such a world and experiencing the grandeur of the mythical world is a very proud and exciting thing, but I am afraid that only Ao Qing knows. In the mythical world, being a member of the dragon clan through time travel can be said to be the saddest thing, especially in the mythical worldview of the devil boy comes into the world. You must know that in the advent of the devil boy, the East China Sea dragon clan protected the coast of the East China Sea. Although they suppressed 100,000 demons under the sea, they could not leave here and could only become the lackeys of the heaven for generations. However, if this were not the case, the Dragon King of the East China Sea would not have gone to great lengths to let the third Prince Ao Bing obtain the spiritual pearl, kill Nezha, accumulate reputation, and rank in the immortal class, thus helping the dragon clan change their fate against the will of heaven. In fact, even in the worldview of Journey to the West, the dragon clan of the East China Sea is the target of being bullied at will. Not to mention anything else, the Dragon King of the Jing River will be beheaded even if he gives someone a little rain. If the little monkey comes, the Dragon King of the East China Sea will give gifts and treasures. Not to mention, the Dragon King of the East China Sea will complain to the heaven several times. The heavenly court ignored it, and at the Peach Festival, they even entertained the immortals with dragon tendons and dragon meat. It can even be said that since the decline of the ancestral dragon lineage in the prehistoric era, the status of the dragon clan has been worse than the previous generation, and eventually became the lackeys of the heaven. The heaven tells you to go west and never dare to go east. Even the monsters are more carefree than their dragon clan. However, Ao Qing soon discovered that due to his appearance, the situation in the entire East China Sea had changed a little bit. That is, he, Ao Qing, is actually the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, in charge of the entire East China Sea coast. And tied to the dark iron pillar is Ao Guang, the old Dragon King of the East China Sea. For the continuation and development of the Dragon clan, he passed on the position of Dragon King of the East China Sea to Ao Qing. And this original body, because he hoped that the old East China Sea Dragon King Ao Guang could be released, offended many gods in heaven and was secretly killed, so he could occupy the body and travel through time. As for the one who called him just now, it was the third Prince Ao Bing who formed the CP with Nezha in The Devil Boy Comes to the World. But now Ao Bing is only 2 years old and is already less than a few months away from his fate. Shen Gongbao, Tai Zhenren and others have already started to take action. The situation of the Dragon King of the East China Sea is really miserable. Ao Qing couldn't help but sigh with a bitter smile. If nothing else, in just a few months, Nezha will make a big fuss in the East China Sea. There will inevitably be some casualties and friction, and his younger brother Ao Bing may die suddenly. Somehow, looking at the cute little guy Ao Bing in front of him, Ao Qing was unwilling to watch him die. I don't know if there is a golden finger or something. And just when Ao Qing frowned and thought, suddenly, a pleasant voice came to his ears. Congratulations to the host. The infinite evolution system of the Dragon Clan has been activated. As long as the host improves the dragon's reputation, it can obtain evolution points. In addition to evolving the host, these evolution points can also allow the subordinates to evolve. A gift package for newbies has been detected. Do you want to check it? A series of sweet voices came without any warning. Ao Qing was stunned at first, and then happy. He didn't expect that the golden finger would come at a moment's notice. This was obviously his only way to fight against the gods in heaven. Without hesitation, Ao Qing directly chose yes. The next moment, the pleasant voice came again. Congratulations, you opened the newbie gift package. You have obtained the Dragon God Art. You have gained 3,000 years of Taoism. You have gained one evolution point that you can use yourself. You have gained one evolution point that can be used by your subordinates. You have gained the ability to check character status. Your level has improved. You have reached the Taizan Immortal Realm. You evolved. You evolved into a 5-clawed Hunyuan Golden Qilong. A series of pleasant reminders came, and now Qing could clearly feel that a powerful force was pouring into his limbs and bones, especially the blue dragon horn on his head, which was shining brightly. Brilliant light. Under this power, his understanding and cognition of martial arts and practice have reached a new level. The previous shackles have all been broken through under this power. The feeling of this influx of power is very wonderful and makes people feel indescribably happy. It was as if a homebody who had stayed at home for decades suddenly came to the forest and nature. Ao Qing clearly felt that he could understand many of the cultivation methods that he didn't understand. Soon, Ao Qing set his sights on the item that had just been rewarded. Dragon God Ju, the best holy level technique. It is the technique practiced by the chaotic divine beast ancestral dragon. After practicing it to the extreme, you can cultivate a 12-clawed golden dragon and command 10,000 dragons. Even the saints dare not touch its edge. Just looking at this dragon god art, Ao Qing couldn't help but take a deep breath. As an otaku from the 21st century who often watches various things, how could Ao Qing not know what the holy level exercises mean? What's more, this is the technique practiced by the chaotic beast ancestral dragon. You know, think back to the beginning. After Pengu created the world, Ancestral Dragon led the Dragon Clan across the prehistoric world, and for a while, he was unparalleled in the limelight. If it hadn't been for the sage's calculations and the snipe and clam fighting for the fisherman's profit, the ancestral dragon lineage would not have been in such a miserable situation when it was reduced to the Four Seas Dragon Clan. When the ancestral dragon was here, after transforming, the 12-clawed golden dragon had a body of hundreds of thousands of feet. Its power was unbelievable, far beyond what the current strongest dragon clan, Old Donghai Dragon King, could only do with the 5-clawed golden dragon. Comparable. Having this technique means that he will be able to practice the 12 golden claws in the future. This makes Ao Qing so excited. With excitement, Ao Qing couldn't help but read on. 3,000 years of Taoism. Although the rewards of this newbie package are not as incredible as those of Dragon God Art, they are still very good rewards. You know, 3,000 years of Taoism, this is 3,000 years of hard training for many gods and masters. Don't underestimate the role of Taoism. In this world, Taoism and spiritual realm are everything. Those with advanced Taoism can easily suppress them with magic weapons. And this is one of the reasons why the Monkey King, is powerful in force and can cause havoc in the heavenly palace, but he is not the opponent of many demons, ghosts and gods. Because although the Monkey King, is powerful in force, his ways are weak and easy to he was suppressed by a profound monster. With a simple wave of his hand, Ao Qing clearly felt that as his Taoism increased, his strength became stronger. The next moment, Ao Qing turned his attention to the next few rewards, especially when he saw the evolution points, he was stunned. Evolution point. Not only can you evolve yourself, but you can also evolve others. Ao Qing was slightly startled. Doesn't this mean that he can not only become stronger himself, but also lead the entire dragon clan to become stronger? Just imagine, even the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in his East China Sea are at the level of Deluo Jinxian. By then, he will even be able to sit on the throne of the Jade Emperor in heaven. Moreover, the prosperity of a dragon clan is often not the result of one person becoming stronger, but often the improvement of the entire race. Not bad. Ao Qing was looking forward to it. He didn't know what power these evolution points could have. It just so happened that he could give himself a try to evolve. As expected of the system, the moment he had this idea, a pleasant prompt came. Use evolution points on yourself. After using the evolution points, you will upgrade your realm to the Golden Fairyland and evolve into a 6-clawed chaotic golden unicorn dragon. The practice speed of ancestral dragon art will increase by 10 times, the loyalty of all dragons will increase by 10%, and the practice speed of all dragons will increase by 10%. Hearing the sweet prompt, Ao Qing was first stunned and then delighted. He never expected that people in this evolutionary system could be so considerate and perverted. This level of improvement alone directly promoted him from the Tai mysterious immortal realm to the golden immortal realm, and evolved from a 5-clawed golden dragon to a 6-clawed golden dragon. This was not only an improvement in realm, but also the improvement of his combat power. In addition, it can also improve various attributes of the entire dragon clan. This ability is simply abnormal. Without hesitation, Ao Qing said silently in his heart, yes. The next moment, a pleasant reminder sounded. Congratulations, you've used evolution points on yourself. Your realm has been improved. Upgraded to the Golden Fairyland. You have evolved into a 6-clawed chaos golden Qilong. Your ancestral dragon art practice speed has increased by 10 times. The loyalty of all dragons has been increased by 10%, and the cultivation speed has been increased by 10%. The reputation of your dragon clan has increased. It has increased by 1 point. Amidst the pleasant reminders, Ao Qing clearly felt that his understanding of everything in martial arts had been raised to a new level. Although he has not yet transformed into a dragon, he clearly feels that the dragon blood flowing in his body becomes more boiling, like boiling water. And when Ao Qing himself changed, he did not notice that the shore of the East China Sea was shaking violently at this moment, and mysterious auras surged out from Ao Qing's body and spread to the surroundings. Rush away. The old East China Sea dragon King Ao Guang, who was tied to the giant pillar, seemed to suddenly feel something, with a look of shock on his face. This is the aura of the 6-clawed golden dragon. As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon elders who were also guarding the surroundings all had their dragon heads emerging one after another, feeling the terrifying power. Immediately, their faces were full of shock and shock. That's right. It's the power of the 6-clawed golden dragon. I never thought that I would still be able to feel the power of the 6-clawed golden dragon in my lifetime. Wow, this aura is so wonderful. Even our strongest dragon king in the East China Sea is only a 5-clawed golden dragon. Now a 6-clawed golden dragon is born. Could it be that God is blessing our dragon clan? The dragon clan elders cheered and encouraged, their faces full of excitement. I think back then, the ancestral dragon's 12-clawed golden dragon dominated the entire prehistoric world. However, with the death of the ancestral dragon, their dragon clan became worse and worse day by day, and eventually they were reduced to the point where the strongest one was nothing more than a 5-clawed golden dragon. Now, a 6-clawed golden dragon has been born. This makes them surprised and excited. And when they were excited, they didn't notice that their practice speed was much faster than before. Some of the shackles that have troubled the elders of the dragon clan for a long time are on the verge of being broken through. While the elders of the dragon clan were in shock, Ao Qing, the new dragon king of the East China Sea, who was at the center of this incident, slowly opened his eyes. It doesn't matter if he doesn't open it. The moment he opens it, an extremely powerful dragon's power suddenly spreads out around him with him as the center. The elders of the dragon clan, just about to speak, clearly felt a strong pressure coming from them. They had a strong desire to surrender in their minds, as if the new dragon king of the East China Sea in front of them was no longer the unknown one. A hairy, wet boy, but their king, the king of the dragons. The stronger dragon clan elders could barely resist, and they just had the idea of surrender. However, the weaker dragon clan elders and the shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the East China Sea all kowtowed in the direction of Ao Qing with a plop. It was as if they were worshipping the king in their hearts. Even Ao Guang, the former dragon king of the East China Sea, who was tied to the golden pillar, had a strong desire to surrender in his heart. Ao Guang's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 90 points. Ao Tian's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 80 points. Ao Shin's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 80 points. Ao Zhang's loyalty to you is rising day by day. It has been raised to 80 points. A series of pleasant reminders came. Looking at the dragon clan elders with glaring eyes, Ao Qing was first stunned and then happy. Unexpectedly, with this evolution, he could gain the loyalty of so many people. Don't underestimate these loyalty points. Once it exceeds 70 points, it means that you are like his dead soldier. He will let you go east, never go west, and give your life to him. At the same time, Ao Qing also had a new understanding of the six-clawed golden dragon. However, what shocked Ao Qing the most was that the power of these evolution points was so terrifying. Originally, he thought that it would take a long time for him to control the coast of the East China Sea and help the dragon clan change their destiny. Now it seems that the worry is completely unnecessary. Soon, Ao Qing's eyes moved again and landed on the next evolution points that could be allocated to his subordinates. The evolution points given to me are so powerful. If I give them to others, wouldn't they also achieve the same effect? Ao Qing thought so. His eyes suddenly shot away. Like a roundworm in Ao Qing's belly, the system's sweet voice came slowly. Do you want to evolve the third prince of the Dragon King, Ao Bing? P.S. Any subordinate whose evolution points are used by the host will be 100% loyal. After evolution, Ao Bing, the third prince of the Dragon King, will evolve into a 5-clawed golden dragon. His Taoism will be increased by 2,000 years, and he will have the strength of Tai Xuanxian. He will automatically learn Thunder Ju, and can use powerful magic skills, Thunderbolt, 2 dragons playing with pearls, etc. Quote. Ao Qing was shocked when he saw the system prompt. He never expected that these evolution points could allow his subordinates to evolve like him and improve various attributes. However, he was in no hurry. His eyes glanced at the other dragon elders. There are only a few evolution points, so he should use them carefully. Are you going to give the elders of the Dragon Clan the trouble to evolve? After evolution, Dragon Clan Elder Ao Shin will evolve into a 4-clawed golden dragon. His Taoism will be increased by 1,000 years, and he will have the strength of Tai True Immortal. Do you want to evolve the former East China Sea Dragon King Ao Guang? After evolution, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea Ao Guang will evolve into a 5-clawed Hunyuan golden dragon. His Taoism will increase by 1,000 years, and he will have the strength of a quasi-golden immortal. Do you want to evolve the little dragon girl? After evolution, the little dragon girl will evolve into a 5-clawed golden dragon. Her Taoism will be increased by 2,000 years, and she will have the strength of Tai True Immortal. Ao Qing glanced over and saw that the attributes of almost everyone after evolution were clear and very clear. But soon, Ao Qing noticed that not everyone can become stronger after getting evolution points. The power of evolution should be limited by the potential value. The higher the potential value, the stronger the evolution. And just when Ao Qing was about to evolve Ao Bing, a little guy with relatively high potential, Ao Qing suddenly noticed a system prompt. Should we evolve the water quality of the East China Sea? After evolution, the seawater on the coast of the East China Sea will evolve into Hunyuan seawater. By practicing in this seawater, the training speed of all dragons will be increased by 20%, the overall combat power will be increased by 10%, the chance of birth of magic babies will be increased by 50%, and increased by 30% chance of other species turning into dragons. Seeing this prompt, Ao Qing was slightly startled, and then his eyes lit up. If he remembered correctly, as long as the reputation of the Dragon Clan increased, he would be able to obtain evolution points. Obviously, evolving the water quality on the East China Sea coast to improve the overall strength of the East China Sea Dragon Clan is more cost-effective than evolving it alone. Not to mention anything else, just the 30% chance of other species turning into dragons means that more dragons will be born on the coast of the East China Sea than in other sea areas. Without hesitation, Aoqing directly chose yes. The next moment, a series of pleasant reminders came. The seawater on the coast of the East China Sea has evolved into the Hunyuan seawater, under the Hunyuan seawater. And just as the pleasant reminder sounded, the dragon elders in the sea area clearly felt that the environment they were in was hugely different from before, and their cultivation speed was faster than before. I don't know how much faster it is. Strange, why do I feel that my practice speed has accelerated a lot? Yes, I feel it too. I even feel that the shackles that have been bothering me are beginning to break through. Yes, I feel the same way. The Dragon Clan elders on the shore of the East China Sea all let out a sigh of relief, feeling the difference in the East China Sea. But soon, their surprised eyes fell on Aoqing. They are not fools, and they can clearly feel that the reason why they practice so quickly must be closely related to Aoqing's transformation into a six-clawed golden dragon. For some reason, some Dragon Clan elders even had tears in their eyes. The Dragon Clan changed their destiny against the will of heaven. They had fantasized about this matter countless times, but now, they finally saw some light. When they think of those gods and gods who bully them at will, they are so angry that their teeth itch. Congratulations, your Dragon Clan's reputation has been improved again. It has been increased by 2 points. And just when the elders of the Dragon Clan were sighing, Aoqing heard the sweet voice of the system again, which made Aoqing's heart slightly shaken. Sure enough, this can quickly improve the luck of the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan's domination of the 3 realms is just around the corner. Later, after a brief exploration, Aoqing discovered that the function of this evolutionary system is actually very simple. That is, as long as he can improve the reputation of the entire Dragon Clan, he will obtain corresponding evolution points, thereby improving himself and his men's strength. In other words, as long as he keeps brushing the Dragon Clan's reputation, he and his men will become stronger and stronger. Not bad, I like the system's capabilities. Aoqing nodded slightly, very satisfied with the ability of the evolution system. At this moment, Aoqing also opened the current attribute panel. Name: Bo Qing. Identity: the new Dragon King of the East China Sea. Rule: Coast of the East China Sea. Troop Strength: 5-clawed Golden Dragon 1, 4-clawed Golden Dragon 2, 3-clawed Golden Dragon 3, Shrimp Soldiers 20,000, Crab Generals 5,000. Reputation: 3 points. Kung Fu: Dragon God Ju. Realm: Golden Wonderland. Magic Weapon: none. Transformation: 6-clawed Hunyuan Golden Qilong. Skills: Thunder moves the sky, freezes thousands of miles. Evolution points: 0 points. Dominance rating: F worst. When seeing the overall strength of the East China Sea Dragon Clan, even Aoqing himself smiled helplessly. You must know that such a force is equivalent to a larger demon clan lair. It is no wonder that the East China Sea Dragon Clan is so looked down upon by others, and it is natural for it to be evaluated as the worst leadership level in the end. However, Aoqing believes that with the help of the system, he will soon be able to lead the entire Dragon Clan and return to its previous peak. Aoqing had just shut down the system, and the elders of the Dragon Clan hurriedly reached out to express their deepest condolences to Aoqing. Their dragon eyes shone with strong anticipation. This is especially true for the former Dragon King of the East China Sea who was tied to a giant pillar. Aoqing, you have really grown up. I never thought that this accident would directly allow you to evolve into a 6-clawed golden dragon. You are the hope of our Dragon Clan. Yes, Aoqing, you are our Dragon Clan's last hope. I didn't expect you to evolve into a 6-clawed golden dragon. The 6-clawed golden dragon is really awesome. The Dragon Clan elders were also talking a lot, and they were all very excited. Suddenly, Ao Guang, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea, winked at several other Dragon Clan elders. Aoqing, as the hope of the Dragon Clan, we have nothing to give to you. Just this armor, let's give it to you. As he spoke, the Dragon King of the East China Sea twisted his body and used his dragon claws to pull out a piece of dragon scale from his body. The elders of other dragon clans also followed the example of the Dragon King and pulled out the hardest scales from their bodies. The scales were all thrown to the same place. These hardest dragon scales quickly gathered together, blooming with brilliant 7-color light, and powerful forces were injected into them at the same time, giving people an extremely shocking feeling. Seeing this scene, Bao Qing was stunned for a moment, but then his heart felt warm. Having watched The Devil Boy Comes to the World, how could he not know what the things gathered by the scales of these dragon elders are? It's the Wanlongjia. In the original plot, in order to change their fate against the will of heaven, the dragon clan of the East China Sea pulled out all their scales and made them into 10,000 dragon armors to protect Ao Bing, hoping that he could complete his mission. Bao Qing didn't expect that his appearance would deflect the plot, and the 10,000 dragon armor would actually land on him. While he was thinking, the young Ao Bing also turned into a dragon at this moment. He pulled out a piece of reverse scale with difficulty and threw it into the 10,000 dragon armor. While the colorful light flashed, the battle armor made by the dragon clan Nilan slowly fell on Bao Qing's body. Bao Qing clearly felt that when worn on his body, the 10,000 dragon armor was as light and thin as a cicada's wings, without even a trace of weight. The defensive power of Wanlong armor is also very clear to Bao Qing. If it weren't for this protective armor, Ao Bing would have died countless times in The Devil Boy Comes to the World. The next moment, a pleasant sound came from his ears. Congratulations, you have received the blessing of the East China Sea Dragon Clan. You have received the acquired spiritual treasure 10,000 dragon armor. Immediately afterwards, the Wanlong armor flashing with 7 colors of light quietly fell on Bao Qing's body, becoming an inner armor-like equipment, making Bao Qing look even more noble and domineering. Thank you. I will not disappoint everyone's expectations. Yao Qing took a deep breath. At this moment, he clearly felt that he and the owner of this body were completely integrated. The owner's deep feelings for the Dragon Clan were also completely inherited by Ao Qing. These Dragon Clan elders, shrimp soldiers and crab generals are no longer cold foreigners, but their own relatives and family members. Are you going to help the Dragon Clan change their destiny against the will of heaven? Ao Qing's eyes flickered. At this moment, his eyes suddenly fell on the golden pillar behind the former Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Guang. If Bao Qing remembers it correctly, this golden giant pillar should be the Ruyi golden cudgel that suppressed the East China Sea. During the journey to the west, it was one of the weapons that Sun Wukong had in his possession, and its power was unparalleled. In The Devil Boy Comes to the World, Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the East China Sea, is locked with a golden cudgel, making it impossible for Ao Guang to leave. He can only guard and suppress the thousands of demons in the abyss. If it were the past, Ao King would definitely choose to develop in a humble and low-key way in order to achieve great success. But now, with the system that can evolve everything as long as the reputation is increased, Bao Qing will never choose the path of obscene development. It just so happens that he can take this opportunity to increase the reputation of the Dragon Clan. Moreover, from now on, the East China Sea Dragon Clan no longer needs to rely on the so-called heaven. The East China Sea Dragon Clan has had enough of being a dog to those gods and demons. Brush. With a flash of figure, Ao Qing appeared directly on top of the golden pillar, with a pair of dragon eyes shining with intense light. The former Dragon King of the East China Sea and the elders of the Dragon Clan seemed to have thought of something. They couldn't help but widen their dragon eyes and stood up one after another, trying to stop Ao Qing. Dragon King, this giant pillar is the Ruyi golden cudgel that suppresses the shores of the East China Sea. It weighs tens of thousands of kilograms and no one can move it. Don't waste your efforts. That's right. Thinking about how the human race turned against our Dragon Clan in order to expand their territory, the leader of the human race, Deu, also received the Dinghai Divine Needle from nowhere, which directly suppressed the fate of our East China Sea Dragon Clan. We Dragon Clan elders have thought this many times. I tried to pull out this sea-fixing needle, but it was all in vain. Yes, if it weren't for this, heaven wouldn't have tied your father Ao Guang to a giant pillar. But soon, Ao Guang and the Dragon Clan elders opened their eyes in shock and stopped talking. I saw that in their horrified eyes. Ao Qing pulled out the needle, and the Dinghai needle that suppressed the East China Sea began to shake violently. Immediately afterwards, under the shocked gazes of all the East China Sea Dragon Clan and Dragon Clan elders, Ao Qing single-handedly lifted up the Dinghai Divine Needle that suppressed the East China Sea. Ao Qing quickly noticed that the Dinghai Divine Needle also had several large characters written on it, such as the Ruyi Golden Cudgel, which were exactly the same as those seen by Sun Wukong in Journey to the West. At that moment, he silently muttered, "Little." As soon as he finished speaking, Dinghai Shenzhen seemed to understand his words, and immediately shrank quickly. The original 10,000 feet, in just a few breaths, shortened to more than 100 feet, 10 feet. Then, it became a bright golden cudgel and fell into Ao Qing's hands. After all, it was the Ruyi golden cudgel. Ao Qing just waved it briefly, and he felt the entire East China Sea coast shaking violently. And this magical weapon, which weighed tens of thousands of kilograms, fell into his hands like an ordinary stick. Just as light. Soon, Ao Qing suddenly came to his senses. With the dragon god art in hand, let alone 10,000 caddies, 100,000 caddies or 1,000,000 caddies can be easily wielded. This is impossible. He actually pulled out the Dinghai divine needle. Could it be that our dragon clan is really going to prosper? As expected of a six-clawed golden dragon, its strength is tyranny. All the dragon clan elders were amazed and excited. Ao Guang, the former dragon king of the East China Sea, who was tied to the golden cudgel, suddenly roared loudly at this moment. Amidst the turbulent sound waves, all the golden chains that locked his body shattered in response. Just like that, Ao Guang, the dragon king of the East China Sea, broke free from the golden chains and escaped. The surrounding dragon clan elders were extremely excited when they saw this. Some dragon clan elders even burst into tears in their eyes. They were very excited. This sea-dinging divine needle seems to stabilize their shores of the East China Sea. In fact, this sea-dinging divine needle suppresses the fate of the dragon clan and imprisons the entire dragon clan. Now that Ao Qing has directly pulled out the sea-fixing needle, one can imagine their hearts. Just a moment later, Ao Guang, the former dragon king of the East China Sea, transformed into a human form and knelt in front of Ao Qing with a plop. "Thank you, Dragon King, for saving your life. From now on, we will follow the Dragon King and change our destiny." When the other elders of the dragon clan saw this, they also knelt down in large numbers, not to mention the shrimp soldiers and crab generals, who were even more respectful. "From now on, we will follow the Dragon King and change our destiny against heaven. From now on, we will follow the Dragon King and change our destiny against heaven. From now on, we will follow the Dragon King and change our destiny against heaven." All the Dragon Kings said in unison. In their minds, they have completely regarded Ao Qing as their faith and hope for the rise of the dragon clan. In fact, when Ao Guang asked Ao Qing to become the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, they were still a little reluctant. But now, whether Ao Qing becomes a six-clawed golden dragon or pulls out the Dinghai divine needle, he has done something they have never done before. This makes them, how can they not surrender, how can they not agree with it? Just as Ao Qing was about to speak, a pleasant reminder sounded in his ears. "Ao Guang's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 100 points. Ao Tian's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 100 points. Ao Shin's loyalty to you has increased. It has increased to 100 points. Ao Zhang's loyalty to you is rising day by day. It has been raised to 100 points. When he saw the prompt, Ao Qing was stunned for a moment and then overjoyed. He didn't expect that his actions would conquer the hearts of the entire East China Sea dragon clan. "Everyone, get up," Ao Qing said slowly. "Hurrah!" Accompanied by bursts of sound, Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the East China Sea, and the elders of the Dragon Clan stood up slowly, their eyes still filled with excitement. And at this moment, a shrimp soldier ran over in a panic. "Dragon King, it's not good, Dragon King." Seeing the panicked expressions of the shrimp soldiers, the elders of the Dragon Clan all felt their hearts skip a beat, and their faces became extremely ugly. As the Dragon Clan of the East China Sea, they have been oppressed by the gods for too long. "What's the matter?" Ao Qing's eyes turned cold, and the aura of a superior person suddenly emitted, shrouding the surrounding Dragon Clan elders. These elders felt the aura, and their original tension was instantly resolved. Yes, now that their Dragon Clan has the six-clawed golden dragon, why should they be afraid of provocations from other races? The nine-headed insect, the son-in-law of the Halloween Dragon King, came aggressively with some shrimp soldiers and crab generals. "He wants to ask us for some treasure armor and equipment," the shrimp soldiers said in a panic. Hearing this, all the Dragon Clan elders frowned slightly and looked very unhappy. And Ao Qing, the Dragon King of the East China Sea, understood it based on the memory in his mind. This nine-headed insect is a nine-headed insect that has been cultivated into a demon. It is extremely advanced. A few years ago, it became the son-in-law of the 10,000 Saint Dragon King of Beboden. This nine-headed insect was originally in charge of a water area and had countless soldiers under his command. Although the All-Saint Dragon King was a dragon, he also had some relationship with the Dragon King of the South China Sea, and they all belonged to the Dragon King of the South China Sea. So for a time, the Dragon King of the South China Sea was joined by the nine-headed insect and the All-Saint Dragon King, and became extremely powerful. In normal times, the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas seem to have a good relationship. In fact, the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas fight on their own. Especially the Dragon King of the South China Sea and the Dragon King of the North Sea often find excuses to embarrass the East China Sea and want to occupy the treasures and land of the East China Sea. Originally, when Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the East China Sea, was still there, the Dragon King of the South China Sea did not dare to make such a mistake. However, with the help of the nine-headed insect and the All-Saint Dragon King recently, he has become somewhat ambitious to unify the world. The nine-headed insect came here this time, obviously wanting to take advantage of the trouble caused by the Dragon King of the East China Sea. Unfortunately, the Dragon King of the South China Sea, the All-Saint Dragon King, and the nine-headed insect could never have imagined that their shores on the East China Sea have already been destroyed. A six-clawed golden dragon like Ao Qing was born. Ao Qing was originally worried about how to increase his reputation, but unexpectedly, the Dragon King of the South China Sea showed up. No, the great ambition of the Dragon King of the South China Sea. HMPH, this nine-headed insect usually relies on its background as the Dragon King of the South China Sea to cause trouble on our shores of the East China Sea. On the surface, it is to ask for some magic weapons and treasures. In fact, it is to take advantage of the situation. This opportunity forces us to give up some territory on the coast of the East China Sea. That's right, neither the Hydra nor the All-Saint Dragon King are good people. They are greedy and they definitely don't have any good intentions when they come here this time. But I heard that the strength of this Hydra has improved a lot recently. I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with. HMPH, even if it is difficult to deal with, as long as our new Dragon King of the East China Sea is here, are we still afraid of him? Hearing that the Hydra was about to come, the elders of the Dragon Clan began to discuss one after another. Their dragon eyes were flashing with anger. It was obvious that their anger towards the Hydra was very deep. After a while, all the elders of the Dragon Clan all set their sights on the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Qing, looking at him with burning eyes, waiting for him to make up his mind. At this moment, in their minds, they have completely recognized the identity of Ao Qing, the new Dragon King of the East China Sea. Even Ao Guang looked at Ao Qing with burning eyes. Dragon King, please make up your mind. In Ao Guang's heart, he was no longer Ao Qing's father. He was the Dragon King on the coast of the East China Sea. Ao Qing was. The third Prince Ao Bing did not speak, but just laid his eyes on Ao Qing. We, the Dragon Clan of the East China Sea, have been oppressed for too long. It's time to unify the whole world. Let's start with the nine-headed worm. The corner of Bao Qing's mouth curled up slightly. In his memory, the Dragon King of the South China Sea was very ambitious. Sorry, he was even more ambitious than the Dragon King of the South China Sea. He was about to take advantage of this opportunity to increase the Dragon Clan's reputation. As soon as he finished speaking, all the elders of the East China Sea Dragon Clan were all excited when they heard the words, their eyes were shining brightly and they nodded heavily. Yes, the East China Sea Dragon Clan has been oppressed for too long. It's time to fight back. And at this moment, a very arrogant word suddenly agitated the entire East China Sea coast. What on earth do you do on the East China Sea coast? When this nine-headed worm comes, you don't greet me respectfully. As soon as the voice fell, I saw a young man with 9 giant worms on his head. Surrounded by more than 100 evil-looking shrimp soldiers and crab generals, he slowly arrived. Until he came to the East China Sea for treatment, the young man's nostrils, still facing the sky, as if he didn't take everything seriously. Even though the nine-headed insect is a nine-headed insect that has been trained to become a spirit, it cannot even become a dragon. However, relying on the relationship with the Dragon King of the South China Sea, it is unusually domineering in the sea area, and usually causes trouble on the coast of the East China Sea. In order not to annoy the Dragon King of the South China Sea and give him an excuse to attack him, the dragon clans on the coast of the East China Sea have always swallowed their anger. As time went by, the nine-headed insect became even more arrogant in the East China Sea. On the shore of the East China Sea, have you forgotten even the etiquette? Seeing that the elders of the East China Sea dragon clan ignored him, the nine-headed insect frowned and spoke arrogantly again. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw a bright golden light suddenly blooming, and a six-clawed Hunyuan golden dragon with a body of more than 100 feet appeared without warning. Its sharp claws struck with a fierce bang. Slap hard at the nine-headed insect. So fast. 1 claw, 2 claws, 3 claws, 5 claws, 6 claws. You, the East China Sea Dragon Clan, actually have a 6-clawed golden dragon. The nine-headed insect suddenly felt the pressure of Mount Tai. For a moment, he was so pressed that he couldn't breathe. In the critical moment, the nine-headed insect wanted to move, but found that he could not move at all. Under the power of the 6-clawed dragon, he only had one thought of surrender in his heart. Boom! The violent impact directly knocked the nine-headed insect away. The nine-headed insect was like a kite with broken strings, and there were thick traces of his blood all along the way. The demonic shrimp soldiers and crab generals who protected him just wanted to take action, but found that they were unable to even take action under the power of the 6-clawed golden dragon. In the pain of eating, the nine-headed insect quickly transformed into the shape of a hydra, with a body of more than 10 feet, and ran away extremely fast. He is not a fool, and he also knows what it means for the East China Sea Dragon Clan to give birth to a 6-clawed golden dragon. It's a pity that no matter how fast he is, he can't escape the control of Yao Qing. With a slight movement of the dragon's claw, the body of the nine-headed insect, which was more than 10 feet long, was as small as an ant in front of the body which was more than 100 feet long, and was caught directly in the dragon's claw. Immediately, there was a popping sound, and the nine-headed insect exploded like a caterpillar with its body broken, turning into a puff of blood mist, and it was so dead that it could no longer die. In the bright golden light, Yao Qing slowly transformed into a human form and became an elegant young man, and then showed a faint smile. Until now, the elders of the East China Sea Dragon Clan have still not escaped from the shocking attack just now. They clearly felt the shock and terror of the 6-clawed golden dragon at that moment. With just one move, the nine-headed insect, which had the strength of Tai True Immortal, was killed. And the strong dragon power exuded from his body, even they had to surrender, they couldn't even think of resisting at all. The Dragon King is mighty. Unifying the world is just around the corner. The Dragon King is mighty. Unifying the world is just around the corner. The elders of the East China Sea Dragon Clan were stunned for a moment, and then they all knelt on the ground with a plop and shouted in unison. The deep resentment that had been accumulating in their hearts dissipated in an instant, and was replaced by a feeling of elation. Think about what kind of life they lived in the East China Sea under the great ambition of the Dragon King of the South China Sea. Now, the situation has changed, and a powerful 6-clawed golden dragon has been born on their shores of the East China Sea. Lead the East China Sea Dragon Clan to glory. Nine-headed insects are nothing more than that. Prime Minister Turtle, command all the water tribes in the East China Sea, and come with me to the South China Sea. Yao Qing smiled faintly. Just with his action just now, the reputation of the Dragon Clan increased by 2 points again. At this moment, on the coast of the South China Sea. As the South China Sea Dragon King Yao Qin, who rules the South China Sea territory, he is sitting quietly in his South China Sea Dragon Palace drinking. In front of him, many stunning mermaids from the South China Sea were dancing beautiful dances to the accompaniment of songs, showing off their extraordinary slender waists. Although the Dragon King of the South China Sea and the Dragon King of the East China Sea are both dragon kings and control an area of the sea, the South China Sea is rich in products, has many magic weapons, and many Taoists use this place as a dojo. Therefore, the life of the Dragon King of the South China Sea has always been good. Despite appearances, the Dragon King of the East China Sea is the eldest brother among the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas, but in fact, among the Four Seas, the Dragon King of the South China Sea is the most powerful. In the South China Sea alone, there are 3 5-clawed golden dragons guarding it, and the Dragon King of the East China Sea is guarding it. There is only one shore. What's going on over there in the East China Sea? Picking up a crystal grape casually, the Dragon King of South China Sea asked casually. Reporting to the Dragon King, the nine-headed insect has already brought people. As long as the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, Dao Qing, is confirmed to be dead, then the nine-headed insect will immediately report the news. At that time, our Nane will lead all the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the South China Sea to attack, and we will definitely be able to attack the coast of the East China Sea has become ours. After all, even if we include Ao Guang, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea, they only have one 5-clawed golden dragon. They are no match for us who have 3 5-clawed golden dragons. The one who spoke was a human-shaped monster carrying a turtle shell and a hat. It was Prime Minister Nangui. Having said this, Prime Minister Nangui showed a greedy look on his face. Very good, not bad, go and prepare quickly. The Dragon King of the South China Sea nodded slightly. We are just waiting for the news of the nine-headed insect to arrive, and then we will attack the coast of the East China Sea. Yes, Prime Minister Nangui nodded solemnly and was ready to make arrangements. In the South China Sea Dragon Palace, the princes and princesses of the South China Sea Dragon King, as well as the demon kings and demon kings with whom they were close, all stood up and congratulated. The Dragon King of the South China Sea will dominate the world and is just around the corner. Congratulations. Yes, the Dragon King of the South China Sea will dominate the world and is just around the corner. Congratulations. Unification of the world is just around the corner. Congratulations. Once the Dragon King of the South China Sea unifies the 4 seas, then the entire Dragon clan will follow the Dragon King's lead. Yes, even if it is recorded in the annals of history, it is a matter of course. At this moment, a shrimp soldier ran over with a panicked face. His forehead was covered with beads of sweat the size of beans. Dragon King of the South China Sea, no, it's not good. The nine-headed insect was directly killed by the new Dragon King of the East China Sea. Ao Qing was slapped to death. Now the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Qing, is leading the shrimp soldiers and crab generals from the East China Sea. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire Nane Dragon Palace, which was originally full of laughter, instantly became extremely quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and even the heartbeats of the guests in Nane could be heard. Many guests on the shore of the South China Sea just kept their stiff postures with surprised expressions on their faces. How can this be? Donghai Dragon Clan, are you seeking death? Although the nine-headed insect was trained as a nine-headed insect, its strength is not bad, but it was slapped to death by Dao Qing. Even Ao Guang doesn't have such strength, right? Yes, if you want to kill the nine-headed insect with one strike and prevent the nine-headed insect from escaping, you must at least have a 6-clawed golden dragon. We all know that the nine-headed insect is the best at escaping. 6-clawed golden dragon. How is it possible? How is it possible that a 6-clawed golden dragon is born on the shores of the East China Sea? The guests talked a lot, and when the 6-clawed golden dragon was mentioned, they all looked scared. However, the fear on their faces soon disappeared quietly. What's going on? Why was the nine-headed insect just shot to death? The Dragon King of South China Sea was the calmest and asked calmly. If all the shrimp soldiers and crabs on the coast of the East China Sea were to attack, he would not be afraid. The only thing he was worried about was that some changes had occurred on the coast of the East China Sea. Little one doesn't know. The shrimp soldier who reported the news said this, and lowered his head in a panic. Even the little one had to escape from death. Dragon King of the South China Sea, don't panic. No matter how strong the coast of the East China Sea is, there are still 3 5-clawed golden dragons. They are no match for us. At this time, Prime Minister Nan Hegui slowly spoke and warned. After hearing the words of Prime Minister Nan Hegui, all the guests, the Dragon King of Nane and others secretly felt relieved. That's right, no matter how strong the coast of the East China Sea is. There can be 3 5-clawed golden dragons. Humph, I just took this opportunity to wipe out all the Dragon Clan of the East China Sea. Take the coast of the East China Sea into my pocket. The Dragon King of the South China Sea suddenly grinned, and the greedy light in the dragon's eyes became more and more intense. However, just as he finished speaking, a cold voice slowly resounded. You are so loud, you actually want to take the East China Sea coast from me. I just don't know if the Dragon King of South China Sea has such a plan. Got it. This voice is extremely plain, but full of penetrating power and strong dragon power. When many of the South China Sea Dragon clan present heard this, they felt a strong pressure coming down on them, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them. At the same time, in their hearts, they actually had the idea of surrendering to the owner of the voice, and he knelt down uncontrollably. This feeling of surrender could not help but arise in the heart of the Dragon King of the South China Sea. At that moment, the face of the Dragon King of the South China Sea changed slightly. Immediately, a terrifying dragon's power, centered on him, spread to the surroundings, forming a hard sound wave wall, which barely resisted the sound owner's attack. Long way. Those Nane Dragon clan who had the idea of surrender in their hearts, their eyes became clear and they woke up. But at the same time, their hearts also felt a little thumped. Who is it? Just rely on the dragon's power to bewitch them. Even Ao Guang, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea, didn't have such tyrannical strength, right? Who are you? The new Dragon King of the East China Sea? No, it's impossible. The Dragon King of the South China Sea frowned slightly. He knew that the owner of the voice was extremely powerful and might even have entered the realm of the legendary six-clawed golden dragon. However, he could not believe it no matter what. The six-clawed golden dragon was born on the coast of the East China Sea. No, it's impossible. How could a six-clawed golden dragon be born on the shores of the East China Sea? The Dragon King of South China Sea said in disbelief. In his opinion, the most promising place for the birth of a six-clawed golden dragon is his South China Sea. After all, there are 3 5-clawed golden dragons on the coast of his South China Sea. And he also knew very well that with the strength of the Dragon King of the East China Sea, it was impossible to give birth to a six-clawed golden dragon. Oh, is it so? While he was thinking, a golden dragon body with a body of only more than 100 feet suddenly appeared. As soon as the giant dragon emerged, a huge golden aura instantly swept across the entire South China Sea, faintly shaking the coast of the South China Sea. It shook violently. The next moment, a violent storm rushed straight towards the Dragon King of the South China Sea and his men. Before the Dragon King of the South China Sea and the others could even react, they staggered and fell to the ground. What a powerful dragon! Standing up with difficulty, the Dragon King of South China Sea cast his somewhat shocked eyes on the golden dragon body not far away. This is an extremely shocking scene. A golden dragon with a body of more than 100 feet was hovering quietly outside the South China Sea Dragon Palace. The size from head to tail was no less than that of the entire South China Sea Dragon Palace. And the whole body of this golden dragon was quietly exuding brilliance. The golden brilliance is like the sun, shining all around like daylight. But this is not the key. The most important thing is that the claws of this giant dragon actually have 6 claws, and the scales of the dragon are not ordinary golden dragon scales, but gray gold scales. They look extremely terrifying and also extremely shocking. Only now did the Dragon King of South China Sea react. The divine dragon that appears here is a 6-clawed golden dragon that has never appeared in the dragon clan in millions of years, and it is also the top species among the 6-clawed golden dragons, the 6-clawed chaos golden unicorn dragon. If the 6-clawed golden dragon has the power to move through the stars, then the strength of the top-level 6-group chaos golden chi dragon is several times that of the 6-clawed golden dragon, and its destructive power is no less than that of the ordinary 7-clawed golden dragon. 3 claws, 4 claws, 5 claws, 6 claws. This is the 6 claws golden dragon. I didn't expect that a 6-clawed golden dragon would actually be born on the shores of the East China Sea. Ao Guang is hiding so deeply. No wonder he made Nao Qing the new Dragon King of the East China Sea. The subordinates of the Dragon King of the South China Sea were talking a lot, their eyes filled with fear and disbelief. People like them shouldn't be too aware of the power of the 6-clawed golden dragon. No, this is not just an ordinary 6-clawed golden dragon, but a 6-clawed chaos golden unicorn dragon. The Dragon King of the South China Sea took a breath of cold air. What? 6-clawed chaos golden Qilong? Isn't that the top variety of 6-clawed golden dragon? I think back then, when the ancestral dragon grew into a 12-clawed golden dragon and 6-clawed, it evolved into a 6-clawed chaos silver unicorn dragon. However, he was silver at that time. No, it's impossible. How can someone surpass the ancestral dragon, the chaotic divine beast born in the prehistoric times, in terms of talent. The subordinates of the Dragon King of the South China Sea once again took a breath of cold air. Behind Bao Qing, the elders on the shores of the East China Sea all looked shocked when they heard this, and soon became excited. When they heard that Ao Qing was a six-clawed golden dragon on the coast of the East China Sea, they were so excited that for a moment, they forgot to judge what kind of six-clawed golden dragon Ao Qing was. But he didn't expect that it would be the top existence of the six-clawed golden dragon. After all, it is produced by the system. It must be a high-quality product. Looking at the shocked eyes of the surrounding dragons, Ao Qing smiled faintly. In fact, he had no idea about the six-clawed chaos golden Qilong, but when he saw the Dragon Clan elders being so surprised, he understood. Slowly moving his gaze on the Dragon King of the South China Sea, Ao Qing's pair of dragon eyes flashed. Dragon King of the South China Sea, there are only two roads before you, one is survival, the other is destruction. I give you 3 seconds to think about it. Regarding the power of the Dragon King of the South China Sea, Bao Qing actually looked down upon him at all. He only hoped to reduce the number of killings by speaking like this. After all, the lack of dragon masters will also affect the luck of the overall dragon family and affect his system rewards. Don't think about it. Although you are a six-clawed chaos golden unicorn dragon, you may not really have mastered the power of the six-clawed golden dragon in such a short period of time. Two elders of the South China Sea Dragon Clan, let's go together. Give this kid some color. The Dragon King of South China Sea snorted coldly and transformed into a dragon shape in the bright blue light. A huge red dragon that was more than tens of feet long suddenly appeared. At the same time, in the South China Sea Dragon Palace, the other two elderly dragon elders also transformed into dragon shapes, turning into two huge red dragons that were dozens of feet long. The Dragon King of the South China Sea is one of the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas. He controls the attribute of fire and has the power of fire. It is different from the green dragon of the Dragon King of the East China Sea. During their transformation, the blazing flames, centered on the dragon bodies of the three giant dragons, spread fiercely around them, and actually began to burn the seawater in the South China Sea, with faint water vapor appearing. However, even if the Dragon King of the South China Sea and several elders of the South China Sea transformed into a three-headed dragon, neither the body nor the spiritual energy fluctuations lingering around him were inferior to the six-clawed chaotic golden unicorn dragon transformed by Zhou Qing. How many? In front of Ao Qing, 3 huge red dragons were as small as ants. Seeing that the Dragon King of the South China Sea was about to take action, everyone on the shore of the East China Sea was about to take action. Ao Qing smiled coldly and stopped them. This Dragon King alone is enough. Crazy. As a Dragon King, the Dragon King of the South China Sea has been favored by countless demons over the years. Now when he saw a junior from the East China Sea being so arrogant, he immediately snorted and disdained to speak. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Ao Qing, who had transformed into a dragon shape, suddenly raised his dragon claws. Puff! In the fluffy blood mist, the huge red dragon transformed by the Dragon King of the South China Sea was split in half by Zhou Qing's claw. No, the whole world is shocked. 3/5. The speed of Qing was so fast that the other two Dragon Clan elders could not react at all. The moment they reacted, the green dragon claws had already struck one of the dragon elders, without giving the dragon elders any chance to react. Puff! Amidst the blood mist, this Dragon Clan elder also followed in the footsteps of the Dragon King of the South China Sea and could not die anymore. When the remaining Dragon Clan elder saw something was wrong, he immediately wanted to run away and leave here. Bao Qing laughed. In fact, he did not expect that the power of the six-clawed golden dragon was so terrifying. In his eyes, the movements of the Dragon King of the South China Sea and others were as slow as turtles. Seeing that the remaining elder of the Dragon Clan was about to run away, Bao Qing suddenly saw another dragon claw falling down. The elder of the Dragon Clan didn't even bother to resist, and was directly shot in half. The entire South China Sea Dragon Palace could hear the needle drop. Many guests and the South China Sea Dragon King's subordinates were dumbfounded. They stood there blankly, as if someone had released a body-fixing technique. The Dragon Girl of Nane and the Prince of Nane wanted to avenge their father, but they found that under the dragon's power, let alone taking action, even breathing was extremely difficult. The entire battle took no more than a few seconds, just the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon King of the South China Sea, the lord who ruled the entire coast of the South China Sea, died in the hands of the Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Cheng. From beginning to end, there was no chance to take action. The whole battle was like a crushing one. Thump, thump. When the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the South China Sea saw that their general was dead, they all knelt on the ground and threw away all their weapons, for fear that they would kneel down too late and die. Prime Minister Nangui himself was so frightened that the smell of fishy smell came from his vagina, he was urinating, and he had no fighting ability. Clean the battlefield. From now on, this South China Sea will be the territory of the Dragon King of the East Sea. Chapter 11. Bao Qing glanced coldly at everyone present. Immediately, the light flickered and the whole person returned to his human form. Although his words were not loud, they were like a dull hammer, hitting everyone's heart, making them unable to resist at all. Soon, the elders, shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the East China Sea Dragon clan hurriedly went to collect the surrendered soldiers and generals from the South China Sea. At this moment, their mood couldn't be more exciting and uplifting. The South China Sea had been bullying the East China Sea for a long time, and now it finally reaped the consequences and became their general. This feeling couldn't be more wonderful. Ignoring the busy people in the East China Sea, Ao Qing showed a smile at the corner of his mouth and his eyes flashed with expectation. He wanted to see what kind of rewards he would get from the system for unifying the South China Sea. Sure enough, the next moment, a pleasant voice came. Congratulations, you own the coast of the South China Sea. Your territory has been improved. Congratulations, you have captured 20,000 South China Sea shrimp soldiers and 5,000 South China Sea crab generals. Your military strength has improved. Congratulations, the Dragon Clan's reputation has increased. It has increased by 8 points. You have gained 1 evolution point can be allocated by yourself. You have gained 1 evolution point which can be distributed to subordinates. Because of your outstanding performance, the system will give you an additional 2,000 Daoxing. Because of your outstanding performance, the system has given you an exquisite dragon palace as an extra gift. A series of pleasant voices came, and now Qing was stunned at first, and then happy. Sure enough, as he expected, in this battle with the Dragon King of the South China Sea, the Dragon Clan's luck improved again, and this time, it directly increased by 8 points. Don't underestimate the 8 points of Dragon Clan luck. You must know that before this, he worked hard to increase the Dragon Clan's luck by 2 or 3 points. This breath directly increased the Dragon Clan's luck by 8 points. But compared to Dragon luck, this illusory thing, obviously those 2 evolution points are more useful. The 6-clawed Chaos Golden Keelong is already so powerful, but what about the 7-clawed one? What about Octopus? Where's the 9 claws? Not to mention, the Dragon Palace and Daoxing will be given as gifts later. While Donghai's subordinates were still busy, after leaving a message for Prime Minister Gui to finally report the specific situation to him, Bao Qing flashed and returned directly to Donghai. It just so happens that he still lacks an exquisite dragon palace in the East China Sea. At that moment, Bao Qing clicked to use it. You used Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace will automatically come to you. Amidst the sweet prompts, a shocking scene appeared in front of Yao Qing. In an empty water area, a huge palace made entirely of marble and glazed tiles suddenly appeared like a magic trick. After a while, various exquisite crafts and exquisite corals were added to the palace. In just a few breaths, a beautiful and majestic dragon palace appeared in front of Yao Qing. East China Sea Dragon Palace. Dao Qing has seen the appearance of the East China Sea Dragon Palace in countless TV series and movies, but there has never been an East China Sea Dragon Palace that can match the magnificence, majesty, and grandeur of the one in front of him. However, what makes Bao Qing even more satisfied is the attributes of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. East China Sea Dragon Palace. It is a dragon palace added to the system. In this dragon palace, the cultivation speed of the host and his subordinates is increased by 100%. Any enemy who comes to the dragon palace will have their combat effectiveness reduced by 30%. Depending on the strength of the enemy, there is a chance that he will be persuaded to become the host's subordinate, and the subordinate will have 100 loyalty. Not to mention the two heaven-defying attributes of increased practice speed and reduced enemy combat effectiveness. The mere fact that there is a certain chance of turning enemies into the host's subordinates is enough to prove the horror of the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Without hesitation, Bao Qing stepped sideways, got into his own bedroom in the Dragon Palace, and began to practice the Dragon God art. Although the evolution points can allow him to evolve into a 7-clawed golden dragon at once, but before that, he needs to consolidate his realm. He knows very well the principle of step by step. Moreover, in this battle with the Dragon King of the South China Sea, Bao Qing also discovered that he could only simply fight and could not fully exert his strength. This is like a martial arts novice who has hundreds of years of internal strength. He only has internal strength, but does not have the skills to turn it into destructive power. At this moment, in the East China Sea Dragon Palace, as the Dragon King of the East China Sea, Bao Qing sat quietly on the dragon bed in the Dragon Palace. The strong dragon power spread fiercely from around his body and surged around, forming waves. A powerful shock wave spread in all directions. It can be clearly seen that behind him, a huge shadow of the dragon god flashes faintly. The owner of this dragon god's phantom is a huge dragon that is hundreds of thousands of feet long. It is covered in red gold, and every scale is as big as a humanoid. If the former Dragon King of the East China Sea were here at this moment, he would be so surprised that he could not say a word when he saw this phantom. The reason is very simple. That is, these huge divine dragons of hundreds of thousands of feet are exactly the emperor among the emperors of the dragon clan, the ancestral dragon, the pinnacle existence of the dragon clan. I think back then, after Pengu created the world, the 5 elements of chaos, water, fire, wind, thunder, and earth, eventually gathered into several chaotic beasts, and one of the chaotic beasts was the emperor of the dragon clan, the ancestral dragon. At that time, Zulong relied on his strong defensive power and close combat power to command the entire dragon clan. For a moment, he was in the limelight. Even the Phoenix clan could only rely on its talent to barely compete with it, while the Qilin clan, not to mention, we can only rely on reproduction to resist. At that time, even the 6 great saints did not dare to touch Zulong's edge. One can imagine how powerful this ancestral dragon is. But now, the phantom of Zulong actually appeared behind Bao Qing. If Ao Guang saw it, you can imagine his heart. However, although the phantom of the ancestral dragon appeared, the phantom of the ancestral dragon that appeared behind Bao Qing was still very vague, and he could only see the outline of the ancestral dragon. At this moment, Bao Qing, who knew nothing about the outside world, slowly closed his eyes, as if he was an old monk in trance. Before practicing Dragon God art, Bao Qing thought it was a super skill that could help him cultivate the 12-clawed golden dragon. However, it was not until he carefully studied Dragon God art yesterday that he was shocked. The discovery. This Dragon God art not only helped him cultivate to the 12-clawed golden dragon, but also taught him the dragon's fighting power and spell casting skills in a comprehensive way. The Dragon God art is divided into 12 levels. The first 4 levels practice the skill of transformation, that is, the fighting skills after transforming into the dragon form. The middle 4 levels are for practicing the skills of moving clouds and spreading rain, that is, the skills of releasing spells. The last 4 levels are for practicing more advanced skills of fighting and releasing spells. Bao Qing noticed that just by practicing Dragon God art to the 7th level, he would be able to gain the ability to bring down thunder tribulations, and by reaching the 8th level, he could even be able to bring down the 9th level of heavenly tribulations. Based on this alone, we can predict how powerful this Dragon God art is. Now what Bao Qing is practicing is the first level of Dragon God art, which allows him to learn the fighting skills after transforming. Dragon Claw Hand. Dragons fight in the wild. This Dragon Claw Hand is divided into 3 moves, namely the Bone Crushing Hand, the Mountain Splitting Hand, and the Dragon Claw Hand. The Dragon Battle in the wild is also divided into 3 moves, namely, Golden Dragon Going to the Sea, Ancestral Dragon Divine Claw, and All-Seeing True Dragon Claw. Originally, Bao Qing thought that it would take him 10 days and a half to learn these fighting skills. However, he never expected that he could learn all of the first level, Dragon God art, just by looking at it. Moves. practice to the peak, perfect. Soon, Bao Qing realized that in the East China Sea Dragon Palace, his cultivation speed was twice as fast as before. Coupled with the power of Hunyuan seawater, his cultivation speed was even faster. It is reasonable to break through the first level of Dragon God Art so quickly. After just consolidating, Bao Qing launched an attack on the second level of Dragon God Art. This second level skill of Dragon God Art is also a fighting skill, but more importantly, it is a fighting skill with the range of the Chaos Fighting Body. Dragon Control. Wanlong returns to his clan. Dragon Control Technique. Control thousands of divine dragons. When attacking, you can summon the phantoms of thousands of dragons to attack the enemy. 10,000 dragons return to the clan, an advanced version of the Dragon Control Technique. When fighting, it seems as if 10,000 dragons are fighting together, with unparalleled power. The second level of Dragon God Art, it didn't take much time to reach the green level, and I broke through it directly. Somehow, he managed to break through the next 3, 4, and 5 levels of Dragon God Art, without spending much energy at all. In one day, he directly cultivated Dragon God Art to the 6th level, mastered the art of the 5 elements, and learned the art of wind control, fire control, thunder control, water control, earth control. Under these spells, any enemy who uses the 5 elements to kill him will have his damage reduced by 50%. And as now Qing cultivated the 6th level of Dragon God Art to perfection, after he transformed, the golden dragon scales began to shine with colorful light, like refracting a 7-color rainbow. Call. After Now Qing completely consolidated the 6th level of Dragon God Art, Now Qing slowly opened his eyes. It can be clearly seen that the moment he opened his eyes, a 7-color light flashed out and illuminated the surrounding area. If there were gods and Buddhas here at this moment, they would definitely be amazed, because these 7 colors of light represent the power of merit. The stronger the 7 colors of light, the more powerful the merits and the more domineering destiny. Dragon King, you're awake. As soon as Now Qing opened his eyes, Prime Minister Gui, who had been waiting quietly at the side, couldn't wait to speak. In the past few days of your cultivation, the coast of the South China Sea has been completely controlled by our coast of the East China Sea. The shrimp soldiers, crab generals, dragon sons and grandsons on the coast of the South China Sea all surrendered and took refuge on our coast on the East China Sea. Compared with before, our military strength in the East China Sea has doubled, and there are also more magical creatures and the like. Times. When Prime Minister Turtle said this, his eyes flashed with excitement. As for those who don't listen to us, we will kill them all and eradicate them. I wonder if Lord Dragon King has any new instructions. Listening to Prime Minister Gui's report, Now Qing nodded slowly, saying in his heart that Prime Minister Gui was worthy of being the famous person left by the Dragon King. His ability to do things was still very strong. During the few days he practiced, he handled things in an orderly manner. You did a good job. Is there any reaction from Beihai and Shihai? Bao Qing sat on the dragon bed and asked slowly. He relies on these 2 sea areas to increase the dragon clan's reputation and obtain rewards. After he has unified the whole world, he can move towards the land. When the 2 dragon kings, the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea, heard that the Dragon King of the South Sea died suddenly and that a 6-clawed golden dragon was born on the shores of the East China Sea, they were trembling with fear. However, they did not express their opinions on the spot. It seemed that they were not willing to join us in the East China Sea. Prime Minister Turtle frowned slightly when he said this. Originally, he thought that after solving the Dragon King of the South Sea, the other 2 Dragon Kings would surrender voluntarily, but he did not expect that the Dragon Kings of the 2 sea areas would dare to disobey the Dragon King of the East Sea. Interesting. Hearing this, Yao Qing did not show any expression of surprise, but instead gave a slight grin at the corner of his mouth. Having seen many Yao Qing, of course I know that the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the South Sea are naturally unwilling to hand over the sea areas they have worked so hard for many years to others. Although the 2 of them are usually honest and not as arrogant as the Dragon King of the South China Sea, in fact, they also have a lot of trump cards. Not to mention anything else, in later generations, the 3rd prince of the Dragon King of the West Sea, under the deliberate arrangement of his father, became a member of the Buddhist scripture-seeking team. Although he never became a Buddha-like Sun Wukong in the end, he also obtained an 8-part heavenly dragon. Arhat's position is guaranteed. Don't underestimate the position of this Arhat. He has achieved Buddhahood in the Tathagata of the West, and he is just like a national civil servant. He, the Dragon King of the West Sea, looks like a Dragon King, but in fact, he is still a monster and does not have a serious identity. Having this Arhat means that we are connected with the Tathagata of the West, and the entire West Sea will also turn over. Therefore, it was expected that the Dragon Kings of the two parties would not surrender. Dragon King, what should we do now? Prime Minister Turtle asked with some worry. Now that the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea do not surrender, it is very likely that they will go to find foreign aid. Then the situation will be a bit troublesome. Many demons, the Emperor and the Demon King, still spy on the world. Seeing Prime Minister Gui being so worried, Now Ching chuckled. To deal with the two Dragon Kings, the North Sea Dragon King and the West Sea Dragon King, he does not need to take action at all. His top priority is to consolidate the Dragon God art and evolve into a 7-clawed golden dragon. After all, in this mythical world, strength is everything. Fortunately, he remembered that he still had one evolution point to evolve his subordinates, but he hadn't used it yet. While Zhou Qing was thinking, a pleasant reminder came. Do you want Prime Minister Dongui to evolve? After evolution, Prime Minister Nengui will evolve into Xuanwu, Junior Xuanwu, and possess all the abilities of Xuanwu, Junior Xuanwu. His realm will be upgraded to the quasi-gold fairyland. At the same time, the total level will be forcibly increased to 100. When he saw the prompt, Now Ching was first stunned and then happy. When he looked at his personal attributes after evolution, he didn't look at Prime Minister Turtle. Unexpectedly, it didn't matter if he didn't look at it. But when he saw it, he was shocked and asked Prime Minister Turtle to evolve into Xuanwu. You must know that Xuanwu is one of the 4 sacred beasts, and it is at the same level as the Dragon King Qinglong of the East China Sea. Although it is only a junior Xuanwu, the word Xuanwu already explains everything. This is just an evolutionary point. Yes, I am worried that no one will be the vanguard to help me gain reputation with the Dragon Clan remotely. Prime Minister Turtle is obviously a good choice. As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful force suddenly poured into Prime Minister Turtle's short body. Prime Minister Turtle felt that violent power poured into his body, like a flame igniting all the acupoints in his body. The shackles that were difficult for him to break through were instantly broken under this violent force. Prime Minister Turtle is not a fool. How could he not know that his breakthrough was all thanks to the Dragon King of the East China Sea? At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle gritted his teeth and endured the sudden change in power. At the same time, his admiration for the Dragon King of the East China Sea has reached the extreme. Not long after, when Prime Minister Turtle opened his eyes again, his whole body had swelled. Although he had not transformed, he knew that once he transformed, his body would be at least dozens of feet tall. And he could clearly feel that powerful power was being manipulated by him and could burst out at any time. This breath, this is the breath of the holy beast Xuanwu. Wei Chen actually. Prime Minister Gui felt it for a moment and was so surprised that he couldn't open his mouth. Immediately, he cast his shocked eyes on Yao Cheng. Just for a moment, thump, Prime Minister Turtle knelt directly on the ground and burst into tears of gratitude. Thank you, Dragon King. From now on, Prime Minister Turtle will be on the front lines and never give up. It doesn't have to be like this, go ahead. I suppress the North Sea and West Sea Dragon Kings for me. Bao Qing shrugged his shoulders and waved his hand. He couldn't wait to experience the power of the 7-clawed golden dragon. Yes, Weiken will definitely fulfill his mission. Prime Minister Turtle's face was filled with excitement. He immediately flashed his body and headed directly towards the territory of the Dragon King of the North Sea. He didn't even bother to take the shrimp soldiers and crab generals with him. Just kidding, he has now evolved into Xuanwu, one of the 4 divine beasts. How can the little North Sea Dragon King and West Sea Dragon King be his opponents? Prime Minister Turtle left on the front foot, and on the back foot, Yao Qing allocated the evolution points he had just obtained directly to himself. Congratulations, you used evolution points, you can allocate them yourself. After evolving, you will evolve into a 7-clawed Hunyuan U 5 elements golden Qilong, and your body will evolve from more than 100 feet to more than 300 feet. In the pleasant voice, Bao Qing felt the light was bright, and powerful power poured into his limbs and bones, and began to wash away the more than 400 acupuncture points around him, as if opening up his governor's body. The second meridians are the same, opening up more than 400 of his acupuncture points. At the same time, he clearly felt that his limbs seemed to be stretched, growing crazily. And just when Prime Minister Turtle evolved into a junior Xuanwu, he was on the shore of the North Sea at this moment. In the majestic Beihai Dragon Palace. Dragon King of the West Sea, if we do this, will we incur the wrath of the Dragon King of the East China Sea? I heard that the new Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Qing, is already a 6-clawed golden dragon, and he is also the top 6-clawed golden dragon. He is not even the Dragon King of the South China Sea. Where is his opponent? Do we really want to resist the Dragon King of the East China Sea? In the Dragon Palace, the Dragon King of the West Sea said with a worried face. In front of the Dragon King of the West Sea, in the Dragon Palace, on the dragon chair, the Dragon King of the North Sea sat quietly, with a pair of dragon eyes shining with contempt. Dragon King of the West Sea, I didn't expect you to be so afraid of trouble. Even if the new Dragon King of the East China Sea has evolved into the legendary 6-clawed golden dragon, what can he do? As long as our two Dragon Kings unite and defeat a small Dragon King of the East China Sea, there's still no problem. The Dragon King of the North Sea said nonchalantly, don't forget, the holy level cultivation technique, Dragon God Art, left behind by Zhu Long has been lost. Even we Dragon Kings of the Four Seas don't know where it is. So even if the Qing dynasty is an evolution, even if you become a 6-clawed golden dragon, you will not be able to exert the true power of the 6-clawed golden dragon. There is no need to worry about such a 6-clawed golden dragon. Quote. Hearing this, the Dragon King of the West Sea felt a little uneasy, and then he slowly relaxed. However, the Dragon King of the West Sea still hesitated and asked tentatively, but I heard that the 3-headed and 5-clawed golden dragons of the Dragon King of the South Sea all died. In the hands of Bao Qing, he can kill with one blow. Total of the West Sea and Beihai, we only have 4 5-clawed golden dragons. What if Yao Qing comes in person? Boom. Before the Dragon King of the West Sea could finish speaking, he heard a bang. The Dragon King of the North Sea suddenly stood up angrily. Dragon King of the West Sea, don't inflate other people's ambitions and destroy your own prestige. No matter how powerful that 6-clawed golden dragon is, it's not like our two families combined, 4 5-clawed golden dragons, why should we worry so much? If you ask me, it would be better for our two families to unite now, and take advantage of the fact that the East China Sea Dragon Clan and the South China Sea Dragon Clan are weakened just after the war, to unify the two sea areas, and then you and I, one person will rule the two sea areas, wouldn't it be great? What? The North Sea Dragon King said seductively. Upon hearing this, the eyes of the Dragon King of the West Sea, who was originally a little worried, lit up. As the Dragon King, who doesn't want to unify the 4 seas? Be the master of the 4 seas. Now, such an opportunity is obviously right in front of us. Just when the Dragon King of South China Sea was about to speak, a faint voice rang out without warning. It's just you two Dragon Kings. Are you still trying to unify the world? It's ridiculous, it's really ridiculous. 2 Dragon Kings, please accept the order. As soon as he finished speaking, in the shocked and horrified eyes of the Dragon King of the South Sea and the Dragon King of the North Sea, a huge and burly green body was seen slowly descending, holding something like an imperial edict in his hand. This person is none other than Prime Minister Dongui. With the appearance of Prime Minister Turtle, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals around the Dragon Palace all took action and pounced on Prime Minister Turtle, trying to tie him up tightly and prevent him from leaving. The Dragon King of the West Sea and the Dragon King of the North Sea on the side also frowned and thought to themselves, is the Dragon King of the East Sea swollen? The little turtle Prime Minister actually dares to imitate the Heavenly Court and issue orders to them. In their anger, they didn't notice that Ji Yucheng was a lot bigger than before. This holy order is the order of the Emperor of the Dragon Clan to survive. If you dare to resist, you should be executed according to crime. Prime Minister Turtle dropped these words coldly and waved his hand. He represents the will of the Dragon King, Yao Qing. Anyone who goes against the will of Yao Qing will be killed. This seemingly ordinary movement of waving the sleeves was immediately followed by a huge storm, which came directly towards the rushing shrimp soldiers and crab generals. With a bang, all the rushing shrimp soldiers and crab generals were shaken and flew upside down, out. Ha, so strong. Ha, there's something wrong with this breath. The Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea, who originally didn't care about Prime Minister Turtle, suddenly seemed to feel something. Huo stood up from his seat, and they all took action one after another, trying to stop the flying ones. Shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Boom. It's a pity that even if they take action, they only make the shrimp soldiers and crab generals flying upside down pause for a moment, and then fly out again. The battle started in an instant and stopped in an instant. In the blink of an eye, all the shrimp soldiers and crab generals guarding the Beihai Dragon Palace disappeared, as if they had never existed. They were all swept away by Prime Minister Turtle's wave. Until now, the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea, who had not cared much about the strength of Prime Minister Turtle, were shocked to notice that there was a powerful enemy standing quietly in front of them, whose strength was not weaker than theirs. In the previous confrontation, they had already fallen behind. How is this possible? The Dragon King of the West Sea looked shocked and gloomy. Prime Minister Turtle, when did you become so powerful? The Dragon King of Beihai was also shocked. Two Dragon Kings, the Dragon King's holy order has arrived, let's take it. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile, but he was extremely excited in his heart. Think about it back then, these shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the East China Sea, in front of which Dragon King, were they not respectful? The Dragon King looks at them with his nostrils turned upward. If he is not satisfied at all, he will destroy them. Especially the Dragon King of the Three Seas, he often suppresses the East China Sea under various names. Now, seeing the two Dragon Kings looking like this, Prime Minister Turtle felt proud in his heart. Of course, Prime Minister Turtle also knows that without the Dragon Emperor, he would be nothing. Dragon King. Order. The West Sea Dragon King's voice gradually became colder. He seems to be in no condition to give us orders. Before the Dragon King of the West Sea could finish saying the word, order, Prime Minister Turtle already exuded a powerful aura of the holy beast from his body, and came directly towards the two Dragon Kings to violently suppress them. Those who insult the Dragon Emperor will die. The moment he became Xuanwu, in the eyes of Prime Minister Turtle, Dragon Emperor Ao Qing had already become an existence in his heart that he could not bear to blaspheme. Anyone who dared to question Dragon Emperor Ao Qing, Prime Minister Turtle, would destroy them without hesitation. But when he heard that the two Dragon Kings did not listen to Bao Qing's orders, Prime Minister Turtle exploded instantly. The moment the word, death, fell, Prime Minister Turtle moved. His whole body exuded an unprecedentedly powerful aura, shaking the entire North Sea coast with excitement. A moment later, in the bright golden light, his body quickly grew longer and larger, and the thick turtle behind him the shell also grew rapidly in the bright light. The originally gray turtle shell gradually turned into a gray-gold color. In just a few breaths, Prime Minister Turtle turned into a huge Xuanwu with a body of more than 70 or 80 feet. The heavy feeling was violently transmitted from his whole body, like Mount Tai pressing down on the top, suppressing the entire Beihai. The shore. This breath, is actually the breath of Xuanwu. How is it possible? How is it possible for a little turtle to evolve into Xuanwu? The Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea were shocked and speechless at this moment. They clearly felt the pressure as powerful as the top of Mount Tai, surging fiercely, even making them unable to breathe. However, after all, they were the Dragon Kings of the two seas. Facing Prime Minister Turtle, whose strength suddenly increased, they all looked at each other, and in the bright golden light, they also transformed. The Dragon King of the West Sea is all white and controls the power of ice and snow. The Dragon King of the North Sea is all red and blue and controls the power of wind. The moment they transformed into two people, powerful waves spread to the surroundings, causing the water waves to stir, and some even set off huge waves of more than 100 feet. However, the dragon power generated by the two people's transformation seemed to have never existed in front of Prime Minister Turtle, who had turned into Xuanwu. This guy is difficult to deal with. The Dragon King of the West Sea took a deep breath. Although he didn't know what happened to Prime Minister Gui, he knew very well that there must be some mischief behind this. I think back when the ancestral dragon controlled the ancient world, many beasts benefited from the power of the ancestral dragon and became extremely powerful. Could it be that the turtle prime minister evolved into Xuanwu, which is also the reason why the dragon emperor Zuaoking exists? Suddenly, the North Sea Dragon King thought of something and said quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, a trace of regret flashed in the eyes of the two Dragon Kings. If this is true, then they should surrender, and maybe they will evolve like Prime Minister Turtle. But obviously, they no longer have such a chance. Humph, the Dragon King of the East China Sea is just the Dragon King of the East China Sea, not the Dragon King at all. Stop dreaming. The Dragon King of the West Sea comforted the two of them. After hearing this, the two Dragon Kings felt a little regretful and felt better. Really? But at this moment, Xuanwu, who had evolved into a holy beast, struck without warning. The huge turtle shell suddenly burst into bright light, and a violent storm suddenly spread to all directions with the Prime Minister Turtle as the center. The next moment, huge waves of more than 1,000 feet struck the two Dragon Kings like slaps. The two Dragon Kings were about to take action when suddenly a light flashed and a bang was heard. A huge Xuanwu phantom appeared and directly knocked the two Dragon Kings away. The entire North Sea was filled with the blood of the two Dragon Kings. No, it's impossible, how could you be so strong? The Dragon King of the North Sea asked in disbelief, covering his body. The Dragon King of the South Sea beside him also felt extremely uncomfortable. Behind them, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the North Sea looked fearful and trembling, not daring to move forward at all, for fear of instant destruction. They could clearly feel the terrifying suppressive power emanating from Prime Minister Turtle. Ignoring the shocked looks of the two Dragon Kings, Prime Minister Turtle took action again, and Xuanwu's huge shadow suddenly fell, directly knocking the two seriously injured Dragon Kings away and flying away. Along the way, all the Dragon Kings left behind the dripping blood. The entire coast of the North Sea was filled with a strong smell of blood. The Xuanwu that Prime Minister Gui transformed into was so powerful that all the dragon masters present were powerful, but no one dared to move, as if their bodies were all frozen. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle slowly retracted the flying Xuanwu giant claw with an indifferent expression on his face. Puff! There was a popping sound, and among the blood, the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the West Sea exploded into pieces of meat flying all over the sky. They were so dead that they could no longer die. From now on, the coast of the North Sea and the coast of the West Sea are under the control of Dragon Emperor Aoking. After looking indifferently at the shore of the North Sea, which had become a sea of blood, Prime Minister Turtle said coldly. After leaving these words, Prime Minister Turtle turned and left without speaking indifferently. Only the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in the North Sea were left dumbfounded. They could not believe that Prime Minister Turtle, who could not even defeat Crab General, actually single-handedly killed two Dragon Kings. Prime Minister Turtle is so strong, then, how strong is the Dragon King of the East China Sea? A shrimp soldier couldn't help but said. When all the soldiers and crab generals thought about it carefully, they all gasped and did not dare to say any more. Yes, Prime Minister Turtle is so strong, how strong must his master, the Dragon King of the East China Sea, be? Fortunately, they had not offended the East China Sea Dragon Palace before, otherwise, they would now be like the two Dragon Kings, becoming a puff of blood mist. At this time, with sharp sounds, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals from the East China Sea rushed over to clean up the battlefield and take over the two sea areas. Only then did the shrimp soldiers and crab generals from the North Sea notice that the shrimp soldiers and crab generals from the East China Sea were generally stronger than them, and their bodies were also bigger. Some soldiers and generals from the East China Sea, who had not broken through the realm for a long time, actually broke through and reached a new realm. For a moment, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in all the sea areas looked puzzled. How did the Dragon King of the East China Sea make his subordinates become so powerful in such a short period of time? Of course they don't know that the water on the coast of the East China Sea has evolved a long time ago, and the cultivation speed is many times that of other sea areas. Soon, the news that Prime Minister Turtle single-handedly suppressed the two sea areas of the West Sea and the North Sea spread like cannonballs among the shrimp soldiers, crab generals, fish spirits and fish monsters in the four sea areas. At first, these shrimp soldiers, crab generals, fish fish spirits and fish monsters thought it was someone else's joke. After all, the strength of the Dragon King in the Danglier punishment domain on the coast of the South China Sea and the West Sea was not just bragging. Otherwise, he would not be able to rule this sea area. But when they heard that a six-clawed golden dragon was born on the shores of the East China Sea, they showed surprise expressions. Many people are very aware of the power of the six-clawed golden dragon of the Dragon Clan. As for the reason why Prime Minister Turtle suddenly increased his strength, many people also believe that it has something to do with the East China Sea Dragon King's ability to survive. After all, in the entire four seas, only the East China Sea Dragon King has such a skill. Suddenly, the entire sea area shook. Countless monsters and spirits who were friends with the South China Sea, the North Sea, and the West China Sea were also alarmed. They all thought quickly about whether they should defect to the Dragon King of the East China Sea or hurry up and make friends with him. The sea area has lost contact. In short, the four sea areas are shaking abnormally, and countless forces are secretly discussing countermeasures. There are also many immortal bosses who are secretly investigating the details of Bo Ching, wanting to see what skills this Bo Ching has. To be able to unify the whole world. Of course, in the eyes of many immortal bosses, even if the East China Sea Dragon King Ao Ching unified the world, he would not pose any threat to them at all. After all, it is impossible for the East China Sea Dragon Clan to reproduce the glory of the ancestral dragon. They don't think that the East China Sea Dragon Clan can inherit the purest bloodline of the ancestral dragon and possess the most powerful strength of the ancestral dragon. Regarding the shock from the outside world, Yao Qing did not pay attention to it. To be precise, he was too lazy to pay attention to it. At this time, he was sitting cross-legged on the dragon bed in the East China Sea Dragon Palace. His skin was dark and his facial features were very delicate. His whole person was faintly exuding an explosive aura, as if a bomb was about to detonate at any time. If anyone were here at this moment, they would be surprised to find that Yao Qing was a lot bigger than before. Fortunately, he did not transform at this time, otherwise, once he transformed, it would definitely cause the whole world to tremble again. The reason is very simple. With the help of that little evolution point, he has evolved into a seven-clawed golden dragon, and it is also the top existence among the seven-clawed golden dragons, the seven-clawed Hunyuan Yu 5 elements golden Qilong. The power of this seven-clawed golden dragon. Although Bao Qing did not try to transform, he could clearly feel that compared to the six-clawed dragon, his strength had improved greatly. At this moment, he slowly opened his properties panel. Name: Bo Qing. Identity: New Dragon King of the Four Seas. Rule: the coast of the East China Sea, the coast of the West Sea, the coast of the South China Sea, the coast of the North Sea. Troop strength: 5-clawed golden dragon 3, 4-clawed golden dragon 10, 3-clawed golden dragon 30, shrimp soldier 100000, crab general 20,000. Reputation: 16 points. Kung Fu: Dragon God Ju. Realm: Quasi Da Luo Jin Fairyland. Magic weapon: none. Transformation: 7-clawed Hunyuan Royal 5 elements golden Qilong. Skills: wind bending, fire bending, thunder bending, water bending, earth bending. Evolution points: 0 points. Dominance rating: F+ bottom. It doesn't matter if you don't look at this attribute panel. When you look at it, even Yao Qing himself can't help but be shocked. He originally thought that it would take at least several months to unify the four seas, but he did not expect that in just a few days, the four seas would be unified, and his identity would change from the Dragon King of the East China Sea to the Dragon King of the Four Seas. But compared to this, what Yao Qing values most is the overall strength of Seehaiban. Compared with the time on the coast of the East China Sea, the military strength of the entire Dragon Clan has more than doubled, and many attributes have even increased 4 to 5 times. And his level of strength has finally reached the Quasi-Deluo Golden Immortal Realm. It is better to underestimate the Quasi-Deluo Golden Immortal Realm. You must know that once you step into the Deluo Golden Immortal Realm, you are already the top master in the mythical world. There are very few people who can kill those who stand at the top of the food chain. In later generations, Monkey King, the Monkey King who caused great trouble in the Heavenly Palace, was no more than a Quasi-Da Luo Jin Fairyland. Of course, his individual strength has caught up, but the combat effectiveness of the entire Dragon Clan has not. Otherwise, his command rating would not just be raised to F+. It is worth mentioning that at the moment when Prime Minister Turtle killed the Dragon King of the North Sea and the Dragon King of the South Sea, Bao Qing knew it from the system reward. This time, Prime Minister Turtle killed 2 Dragon Kings, and the reward he gave was very rich. He was given 8 points of dragon reputation as a gift. He was only 2 points short of dragon reputation before he could get evolution points again. It has to be said that Bao Qing is still very satisfied with Prime Minister Gui's actions, which completely demonstrated the strength of their East China Sea Dragon Palace. Slowly opening his eyes, before Bao Qing could speak, the Prime Minister Turtle Chateaus, who had been waiting quietly, stepped forward quickly and reported, "Dragon King, this time I suppressed the 2 Dragon Kings and defeated the 2 Dragon Kings. Killing finally succeeded in helping the Dragon King unify the coast of the North Sea and the coast of the West Sea." Quote, "Now that we have unified the 4 seas, you, Dragon King, have become the well-deserved Dragon King of the 4 seas, and the strength of our East China Sea Dragon Palace has also been expanded 4 times. Many dragon elders of the East China Sea Dragon clan have gone to various sea areas to help Dragon King, you guard the world." Having said this, Prime Minister Turtle's eyes shone with excitement. Once upon a time, he had dreamed that one day the 4 seas would be unified and controlled by the Dragon King of the East China Sea. Now, this wish has finally come true. Yes, let's inform the elders of the Dragon Clan and the main persons in charge of each system to come to the East China Sea Dragon Palace for a court meeting to discuss important matters. Bao Qing thought for a moment and said to Prime Minister Gui, "How, court meeting?" Prime Minister Turtle was stunned. This is something that human emperors often do. However, Prime Minister Turtle also knew that the Dragon King did this, so he had his own reasons, so he quickly went to prepare. Watching Prime Minister Gui leave in a hurry, Bao Qing curled his lips slightly. When he was practicing just now, he was thinking about the future development route of the Dragon Clan. There is no doubt that the human race and various forces on the land need to be dealt with. Although it is so easy to kill the Dragon King of the 3 seas now, in fact there are many masters in the mythical world, and he alone cannot help the Dragon Clan turn the tide. In order for the Dragon Clan to fully develop, some measures to control the barking of the human race are still very much needed. I have to say that Prime Minister Turtle's efficiency is still very high. In just a few breaths, he informed the relevant persons in charge and the elders of the Dragon Clan that Bao Qing was going to hold a court meeting. Although many Dragon Clan elders usually hold meetings, this meeting was the first time. Just a quarter of an hour later, in front of the entire East China Sea Dragon Palace, the Dragon Clan elders and the heads of various systems were already crowded, standing in 2 dark rows, just like a human emperor holding a court meeting. Many Dragon Clan elders and heads of various systems present had seen such a magnificent East China Sea Dragon Palace for the first time. For a moment, they all became more optimistic about the future of the Dragon Clan. In the Dragon Palace, Bao Qing, the Dragon King of the 4 seas, sat quietly on the dragon chair, with a pair of dragon eyes scanning downwards, majestic. "The purpose of calling you here this time is very simple, that is, this Dragon King not only controls the world, but also hopes to restore the glory of the Dragon Clan." Bao Qing slowly spoke. His voice was not loud, but when it fell on the ears of the Dragon Clan elders and system leaders, it exploded like muffled thunder. The eyes of many Dragon Clan elders were faintly flashing with excitement, but soon, this excitement was filled with worry. The people in charge of each system also had the same expression and mood, both excited and worried. Excitement is excitement, the Dragon Clan is finally about to rise. But I am worried that the rise of the Dragon Clan will bring an unprecedented crisis to this clan. Scanning the eyes of every Dragon Clan elder and the person in charge of each system, Bao Qing smiled faintly. How could he not see the inner thoughts of these people? To be honest, this Dragon King has evolved into a 7-clawed Hunyuan Yu 5 elements golden Qilong. I believe you all know what this means. Bao Qing said without concealment. After these days of governance, the loyalty of the Dragon Clan elders and system leaders under him has already reached 100, so he is definitely not afraid of information leakage. As soon as he finished speaking, the originally quiet Donghai Dragon Palace suddenly exploded like boiling water. 7-clawed Hunyuan Yu 5 elements golden Qilong. This is the top existence among the 7-clawed golden dragon. How long did it take for the Dragon King to evolve again? Could it be that there is really hope for our Dragon Clan to regain its glory? When the Dragon Clan elders heard this, they all stood up suddenly, excited, and the worry in their eyes quietly dissipated. When this golden dragon reaches the level of 7 claws, it cannot be easily killed by ordinary immortals. You must know that when a golden dragon evolves into 7 claws, it is almost equivalent to having 9 lives. Only when all 9 lives are dead can it be killed. It is precisely because of this that the 7-clawed golden dragon is also known as the 9-life golden dragon. It's not very promising, but it's very promising. Bao Qing grinned slightly. Because of this, I hope to revitalize the entire Dragon Clan. And the first thing we have to do is to make ourselves stronger and have more powerful strength. In this mythical world, you don't have to have many brothers, and Bao Qing knows this very well. After hearing what Bao Qing said, the elders of the Dragon Clan were not only excited, but the people in charge of each system were also excited. Prime Minister Turtle, go and make preparations. Build academies and martial arts arenas all over the world. The more the better, and at the same time, send elders of the Dragon Clan to teach the power of dragon transformation in the academies and martial arts arenas, and enlighten fish. Fish monster. Bao Qing thought for a while and then spoke immediately. Although there are countless rich fish resources on the coast of the East China Sea, basically the fish have not developed wisdom. Let alone demon transformation, they can't even practice cultivation. It is basically impossible for such fish to become shrimp soldiers and crab generals guarding the Dragon Palace. Only a few have the chance to be inspired and become fish spirits and fish monsters. Now the first thing Yao Qing does is to turn these guys who have not yet developed wisdom into wisdom and turn them into fish spirits and fish monsters. Let me ask you, among the 4 seas, which one has the largest number? Not a dragon, not a shrimp soldier, not a crab general, but these seemingly inconspicuous fish. In the entire mythical world, I'm afraid all the gods combined don't have as many fishes as there are in the 4 seas. As soon as such a bold idea came to fruition, the entire East China Sea Dragon Palace felt calm. Many Dragon Clan elders even looked at Ao Qing with surprised eyes, their faces filled with disbelief. This is not because they are unwilling to do this and enlighten those ordinary fish, but once even the fish can transform into spirits and monsters, then it is very likely to threaten the rule of the entire East China Sea Dragon Palace. But soon the elders of the Dragon Clan felt that they were overthinking. With the 7-clawed golden dragon like Zhou Qing here, no spirit or monster dared to resist. When they thought about it carefully, their eyes lit up. This is a quite creative decree. A dragon elder suddenly said with excitement. Yeah, very creative. If it succeeds, then we will have a steady stream of troops and talents all over the world to use. Another Dragon Clan elder said excitedly. The former Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Guang, patted his forehead with regret. Why didn't I think of such a good idea? Seeing the reactions of the elders, Bao Qing nodded slightly. In fact, he has another purpose for doing this, which is to turn fish into fish spirits and fish monsters, which can also improve the luck of the Dragon Clan and gain evolution points. Moreover, the evolution points gained are probably quite a lot. As for the threats from fish spirits and fish monsters, with the system in hand and 100 loyalty points, he doesn't need to worry at all. Wei Weiken, let's do it now. Ji Yu Chenglian hurriedly wrote down the decree of staying alive and disappeared. Even a fool knows what kind of impact this law will have on the entire East China Sea and the entire world once it is implemented. Prime Minister Turtle had just left, and on the back, Yao Qing issued another decree. The Navy increased the frequency of drills and began to plunder the resources and wealth around them to build magical weapons. Any disobedient forces will be suppressed without hesitation. With the issuance of several decrees from Ao Qing, the entire Sea coast seemed to have turned into a teenager, beginning to glow with new youthful vitality and showing a strong vitality. Under the mechanical operation of various systems in the East China Sea, many elders of the Dragon Clan have personally participated in the process of cultivating fish spirits and fish monsters from all over the world. Countless things similar to human academies and martial arts arenas have also sprung up. At the same time, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the Sea Dragon Clan also started their own activities of plundering the surrounding areas. Any place where monsters and low-level gods gathered would basically be plundered by the shrimp soldiers, crab generals. All of a sudden, the areas around the shores of the four seas were affected to varying degrees. Many monsters and low-level gods around them had expressions of incomprehension. I don't know what the Dragon Clan in the East China Sea is going to do. There is no fear of offending forces that shouldn't be offended. Of course, there are also some monsters who, relying on their profound backgrounds, got some information. That is, the current four seas have already changed their owners, and all of them have become the Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Cheng. And just when the shrimp soldiers and crabs are about to take action, at this moment, there is an island not far from the coast of the East China Sea. Lord Baiju, you must make the decision for the little ones. Ever since Sehaibin changed its owner and became Ao Cheng, the Dragon Clan who used to live in harmony with us actually attacked us monsters and robbed them. Not to mention our treasure, he also occupied our territory. Master Begu, we have followed you for so long, and there is no hard work, but you must help us say this time. That's right, Master Begu. That Dragon King of the East China Sea, Ao Cheng, is so abominable. Especially his subordinate, Prime Minister Turtle. I heard that he even evolved into Xuanwu. He is very powerful, but this is not because of their arrogance and domineering capital. On the island, a huge white skeleton gathered into a spirit, its eyes flashing with dark flames. In front of the white withered bones, several monsters with fish heads and horns were kneeling quietly, their faces full of anger and depression. These monsters are some scattered monsters not far from the coast of the East China Sea. By chance, they were created by heaven and earth and became spirits. The person in front of them was their backer, called the White Bone Sage. This great sage of white bones, speaking of it, was created by heaven and earth and became a spirit. Now he has advanced in Taoism for more than 5,000 years. He is extremely powerful and ordinary people do not dare to provoke him easily. I know a little bit about the East China Sea, but I never thought that Ao Cheng would offend so many people, even my little brother. A pair of eyes flashed with green flames, and the Bone Sage's eyes narrowed slightly, his expression extremely ugly. In normal times, the White Bone Monkey King often went to the East China Sea Dragon Palace to call Ao Guang brothers. However, he did not expect that now the wings of the East China Sea Dragon Palace were a little hard, and he immediately turned his back and refused to recognize anyone. Robbing his little brother, isn't this just a slap in the face? How can he survive this? Yes, boss, that Ao Cheng is really too arrogant. He didn't even take a pee to see how virtuous he is. When the younger brothers saw that the boss was about to take action, they were very excited and a little proud. You guys lead the way, I will definitely cause trouble for Ao Cheng today. The Bone Sage smiled coldly, and was about to head to the coast of the East China Sea. Before the younger brother could respond, a faint voice rang out without any warning. On the orders of Dragon Emperor Ao Cheng, we are here to collect magic weapons and supplies. Anyone who refuses to hand over will be killed. As soon as he finished speaking, a burly green figure appeared. It was none other than the 9,000-year-old Prime Minister Turtle. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle stood slowly in the water waves, his cold eyes scanning the surroundings, holding something like an imperial edict in his hand. Behind Prime Minister Turtle, there were still several shrimp soldiers and crab generals standing, each with murderous intent. Seeing Prime Minister Turtle, the great sage of white bones frowned slightly. You are here just in time, I am about to trouble Ao Cheng. You will lead the way for me, otherwise. The great sage of bones was already in a state of anger at this time, and did not even notice that Prime Minister Turtle came here to collect magic weapons and supplies. Before the great sage of bones could finish speaking, Prime Minister Turtle had already taken the lead. The huge Xuanwu shadow flashed behind Prime Minister Turtle in an instant. Amidst the loud noise, the huge Xuanwu shadow waved out its huge claws and swung directly towards the Bone Sage. Boom! The great sage of white bones, which was made of white bones and collected the essence of the sun and moon, was directly shot into powder flying all over the sky by this palm. Immediately, it disappeared without a trace in the turbulent water waves, as if it had never existed. The Prime Minister has just said that those who refuse to surrender will be beheaded. Turtle Cheng Lian didn't even look at the great sage of bones, and waved his hand directly. The shrimp soldiers and crab generals behind him rushed directly to the island where the great sage of bones was, and plundered all valuable things. The younger disciples of the Bone Sage were not only surprised when they saw this scene, but they had a look of horror on their faces. Can you not be shocked? This great sage of white bones is the Demon King with a radius of 10 miles. He is in charge of a land. Many monsters dare not touch him. Even Ao Guang, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea, had to give him a bit of a thumbs down. And such a master of the Demon King was actually killed by Prime Minister Turtle's 9,000-year-old move. This, the recent East China Sea Dragon Palace, is a bit ridiculously strong, right? While the few little monsters were thinking like this, Prime Minister Turtle's cold gaze fell on them. Dragon Emperor Ao Qing said that the little monsters and monsters will become slaves and serve the Dragon Clan for generations. Do you know how? Do it. Which little monster wouldn't dare to listen to Prime Minister Turtle's cold words? Immediately, he nodded repeatedly and followed the shrimp soldiers and crab generals back to the East China Sea Dragon Palace. Things like the Bone Monkey King happened one after another in the next few days. Countless powerful monsters and demon lords were all killed by Prime Minister Turtle, and their younger brothers became the younger brothers of the Clothing Dragon clan. Such a thunderous method quickly made the whole world calm down completely. No one dares to provoke the Dragon Clan of the East China Sea. While Prime Minister Gui was clearing away the surrounding threats, the elders of the East China Sea Dragon clan were not idle either. Boom! Suddenly, a violent sound was heard, and several colorful corals were seen. Under the control of the former Dragon King Ao Guang of the East China Sea, in just a few breaths, they turned into something similar to an academy. Soon, several fish spirits who had been waiting aside hurriedly swam into the academy, took out the practice textbooks they had prepared, and began to study. The teaching gentleman who was waiting aside slowly walked into the academy and began to teach the fish spirits. Not bad. Looking at the fish spirits who were extremely eager to practice, the former Dragon King of the East China Sea Ao Guang showed a look of relief. These fish spirits were created by Ao Guang personally selecting talented people from countless fishes and enlightening them. Mythical masters like them can transform animals into spirits, but although the transformed fish spirits and fish monsters have certain combat capabilities, they are basically very weak. The reason for this is also very simple. That is, although these fish spirits and fish monsters have been blessed by heaven and earth and have become spirits and demons, they basically rely on themselves to understand the practice. Not to mention any famous teachers, even their peers have benefited little. Precisely because of this, the cultivation speed of many monsters is much slower. However, after Ao Qing ordered the establishment of these training academies specially prepared for the fish spirits and fish monsters, Ao Guang was shocked to find that the fish spirits and fish monsters who originally made slow progress actually made very rapid progress. Many realms often require fish spirits and fish monsters to ponder for several years, 10 or even hundreds of years. In just a few days, they have all broken through. Don't underestimate this. You must know that in the entire 4 seas, there are only a few 100,000 monsters with certain combat power. There are only a few hundred or even dozens of top combat power at most. This is the foundation accumulated by the shores of the 4 seas for hundreds of thousands of years. As soon as Ao Qing's decree came out, these fish spirits and fish monsters gained combat effectiveness in just a few days. What this means, I'm afraid no one knows better than Ao Guang himself. You know, there are more than 1 million fish spirits and fish monsters that can be enlightened on the entire coast of the East China Sea. Tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions are possible. If the affairs of the Cultivation Academy are really implemented, the combat power of their 4 Seas Dragon clan will be more than doubled. Sir, the martial arts arena has been built and is right next to the academy. Do you want to go? While Ao Guang was thinking excitedly, a shrimp soldier said cautiously, and at the same time, his eyes also showed a little admiration. Seeing the East China Sea Dragon clan becoming more and more powerful, he felt quite proud in his heart. Well, let's see. Ao Guang took a deep breath. Although he is no longer the Dragon King of the East China Sea, he must build the most terrifying monster training base in the world for Ao Qing, as Ao Qing's strongest support. The martial arts field is similar to the academy, except that the martial arts field pays more attention to actual combat ability. Since there are not many fish monsters and fish spirits who are qualified to come to the martial arts arena to practice, the main ones are shrimp soldiers and crab generals, so the surrounding area of the martial arts arena is full of black shrimp soldiers, crab generals, all with focused eyes and serious expressions. On the martial arts field, two dragon clan elders were sparring while imparting the knowledge of fighting and cultivation to the shrimp soldiers and crab generals. How could the shrimp soldiers and crab generals miss such a precious opportunity? They all listened very carefully. You know, this kind of situation has never happened before. Well, not bad, not bad. Ao Guang nodded slightly, and his eyes fell on the shrimp soldiers and crab generals who listened carefully, as if he saw the future of the entire East China Sea. Although he had let shrimp soldiers and crab generals practice martial arts before, it was obvious that teaching them this way was more efficient. He even felt that soon the strength of those soldiers and generals would be as high as theirs. And just when Ao Qing issued a few decrees, and all parties in the East China Sea Dragon clan acted like machines, Ao Qing, who was sitting on the dragon bed and controlling the overall situation, felt so happy. The reason is very simple, that is, as various matters were progressing, sweet reminders kept coming from his ears. Your dragon luck has improved. Your dragon reputation has improved. It has increased by 1 point. Your dragon luck has improved. Your dragon reputation has improved. It has increased by 1 point. Your dragon luck has improved. Your dragon reputation has improved. It has increased by 1 point. Your dragon luck has improved. Your dragon reputation has improved. It has increased by 1 point. In just a few days, his dragon clan's reputation increased by 15 points. Don't underestimate these 15 points. In the past, it would have taken at least several months to accumulate them. Just by listening to the pleasant voice, Ao Qing knew that he was completely on the right track in searching the world to encourage and teach the fish monsters and fish spirits their cultivation knowledge. However, even Ao Qing did not expect that those monsters who had been enlightened would practice at a rapid pace after being guided by a dedicated person, which was no worse than the human race. But he thought about it carefully. Although cultivation relies on comprehension, it is natural to have a famous teacher to guide you and make progress at a rapid pace. The most indispensable thing on the coast of the sea is those ordinary fish spirits and fish monsters. However, what makes Ao Qing a little depressed is that even if the elders of the dragon clan have increased the speed of enlightenment, the production speed of fish spirits and fish monsters in the four seas is still a bit slow. This is the basic combat power of Donghai. The more basic combat power there is, the more powerful masters will be born. While Ao Qing was thinking, a pleasant reminder suddenly sounded. Will the Hunyuan seawater on the coast of the East China Sea evolve again? After Hunyuan seawater evolves, it will evolve into Super Hunyuan seawater, like a paradise in the cave, and increase the birth rate of fish spirits and fish monsters by 300%. The fish spirits and fish monsters born on the shores of the East China Sea will have a mandatory loyalty of 100. The timely reminder from the system made Bao Qing first stunned and then overjoyed. He was worried about the slow birth rate of fish spirits and fish monsters all over the world, but he didn't expect that the system was so considerate. Don't underestimate this Super Hunyuan sea water. You must know that the reason why many monsters and demons are powerful is that in addition to their natural talents, the cultivation environment is also very important. The more spiritual energy there is, the faster the cultivation speed. In this mythical world, the places with the best cultivation environment are called cave heaven blessed places. For example, Water Curtain Cave in Wagwo Mountain is one of the blessed places, and Shushan Mountain and Kunlun Mountain are also blessed places. It is precisely because of such a blessed place that many masters have been created. Although the Dragon King of the Four Seas controls the Four Seas coast, he looks very majestic on the surface, but in fact, the Four Seas coast is not any paradise. It is precisely because of this that the Dragon clan who was squeezed out of the Four Seas coast has developed slowly. Even the top masters of the human race know that practicing in the cave heaven paradise will get twice the result with half the effort. And this evolution point directly allows Hunyuan seawater to evolve into Super Hunyuan seawater with the functions of cave heaven and paradise. What this means, I am afraid no one knows better than Bo Qing, not to mention, the properties of this Super Hunyuan seawater are such unbelievable, it directly quadruples the speed at which fish spirits and fish monsters are born. Just thinking about it, you will know that the entire coast of the East China Sea has become a paradise. What kind of concept is that? Without hesitation, Ao Qing directly chose, yes. Congratulations, you used evolution points. The Hunyuan seawater on the coast of your East China Sea has begun to evolve. The Hunyuan seawater on the coast of your East China Sea has evolved into Super Hunyuan seawater. Under the influence of this seawater, the coast of the East China Sea is like a paradise, and the probability of the birth of fish spirits and fish monsters is increased by 300%. They are born on the coast of the East China Sea. The fish essence and fish monster will force loyalty to 100. Your dragon clan's reputation has improved. Your dragon clan's luck has improved. It's increased by 2 points. A series of sweet prompts came, and in the somewhat horrified eyes of Yao Cheng, I saw that the originally ordinary blue water suddenly turned into light cyan, light yellow, lavender, light red, various colors. The colors are constantly changing. When the light transformation stopped, the entire East China Sea coast returned to azure water, and the water was still faintly glowing with colorful light, which was magnificent and beautiful. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.